They keep saying that everything is fine, but what if that's the biggest lie of our time? Because behind the smiling headlines and sanitized economic reports, real people are falling apart, and that's every single day. Families are being crushed, futures are collapsing, and somehow we're still being told it's okay. It's not okay, and you know it. And I believe we're in the middle of a silent collapse, one that's hitting the working class like a freight train. But instead of getting honest answers, we're getting gaslit by the media, manipulated by political spin, and blamed for our own suffering. It's no wonder so many people think that they're the problem. They're not. The system is. And so in this video here, I'm going to walk you through 10 brutal signs that prove the American economy is not recovering and is actually unraveling. So you'll see why homelessness is exploding and why even Walmart is laying off and why most Americans are financially at their breaking point. So this isn't just a slump. It's a structural disaster and it's getting worse. And that, my friends, is something worth talking about. All right, so I want to take a quick minute to share some thoughts in reference to just some signs that point to the fact that things are really beyond the point of no return. And the Main Street figures are making it very hard to lie. And once again, it goes not to scare anyone, but just to give people the truth that you will not get from the mainstream media in reference to what's really happening in the streets where the average Joe and Jane lives. So as always, if you guys want to see more of these little quick takes, definitely hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss when I put out a quick take. But first, we're experiencing record homelessness. And so let's start with the most visible and the most ignored sign of economic decay, which is homelessness. So in 2024, homelessness in the US reached the highest level ever recorded. In California, it's ground zero. 1 in 4 homeless Americans are living there. 2/3 of them sleep outside, on sidewalks and tents and overpasses. These aren't just people who made bad choices. They're victims of a housing market that has become a rigged casino where only wealthy get to stay in the game. So imagine living in the richest state of the richest country on earth and not having a roof over your head. That's not a glitch in the system. That is the system. The second point worth mentioning is the fact that we have real unemployment, not the fake numbers that they've been giving us. So officially, unemployment is around 4% or so, but that number is pure fiction. According to the Lewis Institute, the real unemployment rate, when you include people stuck in poverty wage jobs or those who can't find full-time work, it's about 24.3%. That's 1 in 4 working age Americans functionally jobless, stuck in a dead-end job. So think about that. 1 out of 4. Sure, everything's fine, or at least that's what they like us to believe. And the third point is the fact that Americans are starting to pull back. So what do I mean? You want to see what fear really looks like? Nearly 1 in 4 Americans are canceling major purchases right now. Not delaying, but completely canceling. So you got homes, cars, vacations, even furniture. And the question is why? Because people are terrified of being laid off, or the threat of being laid off, along with the idea of rising costs, which creates a very uncertain future. So when consumers stop spending, the economy doesn't just slow down, it starts to seize up like an engine with no oil. We're not in a healthy economy, which is obvious. We're in a high-functioning panic attack, in my opinion. The next one, things are becoming very interesting when meat is becoming a luxury. So even your dinner plate isn't safe anymore. So the U.S. cattle herd has shrunk to levels we haven't seen since the 1950s. So meanwhile, meat prices are surging about 7% for a steak, 10% for ground beef. Factoring in chicken, ham, it's all going up. Soon, we'll be talking about a steak the way our grandparents talked about caviar. So when basic protein becomes a luxury, your economy clearly is in free fall. The fifth point, restaurants shutting down everywhere you look. No matter where you live at in this country, you know of some places around you where the lights are off, the building is empty, and the parking lot is becoming like a free storage facility for anybody to park in because there's no restaurant inside that building anymore. And so you got Hooters just shut down 30 locations like that overnight. And they're not alone. Restaurants across America are going dark. Once busy establishments are turning to boarded up ghost towns. So this isn't about wings or wait staff. It's about a consumer economy that's losing its pulse. So when people stop going out to eat, it means they're scared. It means that they're broke. It means that they're bracing for impact. The next 2 points I'm going to talk about are basically one and the same. You got massive layoffs, which is a bad thing. But then when you have Walmart making cuts, you know it's really bad. And so massive layoffs are everywhere. So from Procter & Gamble cutting 7,000 jobs, Walmart, that's right, even Walmart is laying off engineers and data scientists. So when companies that size start trimming fat, they're seeing what's coming. So they're not tightening their belts. They're boarding up windows before the storm even hits. And still, the talking heads say, don't worry, folks. The fundamentals are still strong. What fundamentals are they actually talking about? And then the next point is the quiet firing, all the people being laid off that we're not even hearing about. And here's the part that no one wants to talk about. Employers don't even want to fire you outright anymore. Over half of U.S. companies are engaging in what they call quiet firing. That means making your life so miserable that you want to quit. So they don't want to pay the severance. They don't want the headlines and the attention. They just want you gone. Quietly, of course. It's like watching your employer slowly push you off of a cliff and then blaming you for falling. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the housing market. And so we literally have a real estate industry of which the cracks in the system is starting to become hard to hide. So more than 330 billion in homes have been sitting on the market for months now, left unsold. So home buyers aren't buying, sellers aren't selling, and prices are about to tank. So this isn't a market in recovery, it's a market in limbo, like a ghost town where everything is for sale, but no one can afford to buy it. And then last, you have 70% of Americans say that they're more financially stressed than ever before. So think about that. That's 7 out of 10. And that's not a personal budgeting issue there. That's not a cut back on some lattes type of problem. That's a national crisis, in my opinion. One being dressed up as stability, people who don't want to admit how bad things really are. And so no, everything is not fine. People are clearly hurting, not because they're lazy, not because they're entitled, but because the system is built to squeeze them out and then tell them it's their fault when they start bleeding. And here's the scariest part. This isn't the worst of it. If we don't change course right away, what we're experiencing right now will feel like the calm before the real collapse. But for now, the media keeps the charades going that everything is fine, the numbers are fine, the markets are stable, the recovery is on track. You and I both know better than that. So once again, just taking a minute to share with you some hard-hitting statistics that can't be refuted, which are, to me, a true indication of what's really going on, which of course won't be put together in a way where it makes it obvious that things aren't doing good. So once again, the best way to get your news and real information is through alternative media, and that was my job, to give you the true stats so that you can see the overall picture of what's really happening on Main Street. And obviously, things are not doing good. And so the question is, how does all that pertain to me? I'm glad you asked. Right now, we know that within this current administration, we're seeing a deliberate unraveling of everything that was partially stable with this tariff war, and the fact that the tariff war, no matter what Donald Trump believes he can accomplish, will not provide more purchasing power for the average Joe and Jane. And so it's literally up to you, as it always has been, to take every penny, dime, and quarter that you have to be strategic with it, meaning that you have to look at this current reset that we're in from a multitude of angles. And the three that's most important has everything to do with what I believe will be considered sound monetary advice for this type of instrument here. And so at the end of the day, and this of course is my personal opinion, there's only three things that you can do with a Federal Reserve note, and that's save, spend, and speculate. And what I mean by save is, we all know that this instrument here does not retain purchasing power. So the best thing to do is to get whatever portion that you would like to preserve for your future out of the current fiat form by redeeming those notes and getting it to something that's true, tried, and tested in the form of United States minted gold and silver coins, which has been, and will always be the people's money. So when it comes to saving, it's a matter of redeeming these so that you can get something that you can then set aside and allow them to appreciate in nominal terms. And then the second, which is clearly spending, cutting down your budget to the point where you're not strangleholding yourself. You're still able to enjoy some, but you're also cautious of the fact that you don't know what the future holds. And so you're not wasteful with your expenditures, meaning the things that are a complete necessity, you can do away with. Things such as extra subscriptions towards all types of personal, non-important items, whether it be some type of app or some type of video service or something like that, something that is completely irrelevant, then more than likely there's a free version of that same thing out there. So that $5, $6, $7, $10, $15 within a single month, if alleviated, could literally be an extra ounce of silver. And then one might say, what will 1 extra ounce do for me? It could do a lot if you do it month by month. At the end of the year, that's 12 ounces that you didn't have before, which you just did passively, to put on the side as a savings vehicle. And then third, speculation. Because of what we're witnessing now in this complete reshuffling of the deck, we're witnessing the ebbs and flows of the equities market every time Donald Trump speaks. So that means he's deliberately drawing the markets up and or drawing the markets down. And so there will come a time for those that either are active traders or those that want to buy things that appear to be undervalued now, given the fact that we know we're going into this digital age, setting aside a portion out of your 3 baskets here for the sole purpose of speculating, which means buying something that is cheap now, whether it be mining stocks, some type of crypto, some type of commodity you believe may have future value, and buying it now while it's probably as cheap as it's going to get, and then waiting for the great flood or the big print as long of the $5 to $10 trillion that's going to be coming after this next market hang. And then with those items that you purchase, if 1 or 2 of them happen to do extremely well, you will have gained additional purchasing power to then take to put back into your saving bucket, and then also be able to take some of that and use for extra expenditures that you may like to do. But once again, that's just my approach and how I look at things. But curious to hear what you think. If you found any value here, definitely hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment, take this, subscribe, share, so more people can get an idea what's going on. And as always, if you want to find out some resources to anything I mentioned, just check the links in the description, because the goal is to give you what's happening, break it down to you, make it simple, and then leave you with some options of things to consider. And those can be found down below. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Catch you later.